Welcome everybody to Eye of the Serpent Tarot for this very special picker card, the first in a series of 6 picker cards to do what I'm calling the Soul Activation series. Because it's the first one, I'm actually going to spend a little bit of time here in an introduction talking about how this is to operate and some suggestions to get the most out of it. So the timestamps will reflect that, a kind of introduction, then the pole choice, and then moving from there. I would suggest that unless you've seen a promo video that I'm going to film once I've done this about this, talking about how to approach it and what it's all about, that you do listen to this introduction. But if you have seen that, then you'll pretty much can jump to the pole choice. So I'll start with that, as I say, and then we'll move into this particular reading. So the Soul Activation series is a result of a download that I got in late 2023, that 2024 and to some extent 25 and 26 are going to be periods of significant soul activation across this planet, and that many, if not all, of the people who regularly come to my channel or those who may be drawn as a result of this particular series are going to be activated in one way or another. This could be anything from something that really touches just upon your most personal relationships, your own personal spiritual journey, through to something on a wider stage. It could be a bit of both. That will depend upon you and your energy and what you want to do. But whatever it is, there's a sense that there's a lot of awakening going on, a sense of understanding who you are, who you could be. So I thought long and hard about how to structure this and decided that probably the best template to use would be Joseph Campbell's Hero's Quest. Now, one can argue there are different sorts of ways that you can look at activation and spiritual development. It could have been the alchemical process. It could have been any number of things. But I felt drawn to Joseph Campbell's Hero's Quest because it has very distinct stages that we go through when we're activated, when we're dealing with change, when we're resisting it, when we're learning, all of those sort of things. And I decided to do it in a series of 6 videos where each video in sequence will go through 2 of the stages in each video. So today we're going to be looking at the ordinary world and the call to adventure. So the early stages where you're kind of in your ordinary life and then something starts to wake you up. And later ones will go through the later stages. So I did originally think I was going to film this once a week and then publish it once a week as I filmed it, but I then also got a very strong indication of doing it all within a fairly compressed period of time. So I will film all of these and then I will publish them, but I will publish them 1 week apart. Now, what I would say about this is that when you are activated, it's going to be different depending upon who you are and how long it takes for that activation to occur, whether it's something that occurs very quickly, you go through all the stages very quickly, or whether it's something that takes a year or 2 to go through, again, is going to depend on you. So my suggestion is, if you are seeing this when it is published, see it all the way through 1 week by 1 week, almost as a dress rehearsal. For some of you, you might be right in the middle of it and it's a helpful guide, and it could be going to exactly the right pacing for you, but if not, then just see it as a dress rehearsal, some guidance and so forth. And then you can always come back to it when you feel it's commenced or when you feel that you're at the particular stages. And even, if you've looked at a particular pile in the dress rehearsal, you might want to look at a different pile to just get a different sense of information as it's actually happening for you. The second thing I would suggest, I am going to put into the intention of this with Spirit that you basically have a through line from a pile. So if you choose pile 2 today, for instance, that there is a kind of subtle, and it probably only will be subtle, I won't be thinking back and trying to connect it, but a subtle through line of pile 2's journey. If you then feel drawn to some other piles in other videos, I would suggest sticking to the pile you've started with, but just watching the others for some supplementary information, because there will be a through line, even if it's very subtle. So that's the other thing that I would suggest for this. Beyond that, it's really down to what you feel drawn to. Now, I also want to very quickly talk about the experience you're going to have here with this picker card and with the others, because there's a structural thing that's going to be common across all of them, and that is the entry point, and that's for very specific reasons. I have decided to use Alexandria Huntington's Nameless One Tarot, and you can see 3 cards from that there, as the choice card and as a starting point, precisely because it's very mysterious. You know, I need to tell you what those cards are. I'm only using the major arcana as the entry point here. But because she has actually created sigils that show the most positive aspects of the particular tarot archetype we're talking about. And I feel that sigils work on a visual and subliminal level and could be very helpful in activating in the most positive way those sort of archetypes. I'm also using in the entry point, and people who are used to my readings will know I sort of start with a card and then usually a few other cards to set a theme. Her Nameless One Oracle, which comes along with the Nameless One Tarot. So that will be part of that. I will also be using the Gnostic Tarot, and I will be using the Akashic Truth Oracle. That latter part to look at the key areas of life and some early advice that are being activated in each stage. And that will probably change over time because as we go through this, it aspects different aspects of our life. So that's going to always be the same. I will quite often use a very beautiful new tarot I have called the Lumen Tarot. The creators there have added a significant number of additional major arcana that are very, very interesting into the deck. So that will be more often than not used as the first sort of stage of what I'm looking at in terms of more detail with tarot. I'm also more often than not going to use Alexandria Huntington's Children of Litter Tarot as a clarification because her work is so beautiful and I want to respect that, but there will be certain ones in this series where I might be drawn to different tarots for the body of the actual reading because they might fit more with the stages of Joseph Campbell's Hero's Quest structure. But you're going to be seeing that as a kind of entry point each time. So the sigils should be used as much as anything as part of how you choose and part of the energy when you're looking at it. So I think that's about all I need to say in terms of the introduction. I'm now going to move to pile choice. So if you just skip to the pile choice, just very quickly, today we are looking at the first two stages of Joseph Campbell's Hero's Quest. That is the ordinary world and the call to adventure. So this is where you are going along in your day-to-day life, whatever your usual spiritual practice is, and you start to get a sense of there's something more, there's something else I'm meant to do. So we're going to be looking at that energy, what it feels like, what it could be about, what Spirit's advice is. So that's the stepping off point for this reading. The pile choice comes down to choosing one of the major arcana here. And you may be drawn to the sigil, you may be drawn to the imagery, you may always do a particular pile, or if you know the tarot card, and I'm about to say what it is, that may draw you because of the energy of that tarot card. So pile number 1 here is the Hierophant, pile number 2 is the Emperor, and pile number 3 is the Chariot. By all means, go to more than one if you want, but do choose a particular pile that you're likely to see throughout the series. That's one thing I did say in the introduction that's probably important because there will be a kind of a subtle through line. So that's worth knowing, but you can certainly go to more than one if you want. When you know what reading or readings you want to go to, I've got the timestamps in the description box below as always, and I'll see you there. Welcome pile 1 to your reading. So you came to the reading with the Hierophant as a sort of entry point. So the first kind of visual and sigil representation of what this particular reading will be about and what your sort of ordinary world / call to adventure steps of your soul activation are. So in this particular deck, the Hierophant talks about two things. One is a connection to community, to tradition, to belief structures and so forth, finding a community, finding a soul tribe, or finding it in the more day-to-day world in some way. That's part of it, all the knowledge and the sort of structures and what has already been created. And that is very true of the Hierophant archetype overall. But it also talks about a mentor or a teacher possibly coming in, which I think in this particular series is very interesting. It could simply be you using this series. So the mentor and teacher is to some degree your spirit team being channeled through these readings. It could also be that there is a new energy coming into your spirit team that you will become aware of that will guide you through this, or you may meet a teacher, or you may seek one out. It depends very much on what's going on here. There is a possibility with the 2 oracle cards that you are looking for very specific secret knowledge. So for some of you here, this activation is going to make you want to go and study something sort of that is occulted potentially, or something esoteric, or something that is maybe not those things, but is sort of like you have to actually learn the thing to have the key, so to speak, to have the secret information, the knowledge to be able to move forward. And there's certainly with this card here, so this is about secrets and privacy. This card here is about wealth. There could be something here where you see some form of educational learning is going to give you the key, literally, to greater manifestation. And that could be anything from, as I say, some sort of magical tradition you may decide to go and learn, through to something that is much more prosaic, but will give you a qualification. So you're going to do a qualification to take on a profession, for instance. There's definitely that sort of energy. Now, in terms of the Hierophant, I want to read you the affirmations that are in this deck. So the Hierophant, the soul affirmation or sigil affirmation, for the commencement of this is you having a sense of your ordinary world and a call to adventure or a call to something new. The sigil affirmation is, I am receptive to the guidance of those more knowledgeable than myself. I am ready and willing to learn. So there is definitely a sense here that you are meant to learn, connect to something secret or something of a higher order. And it has to do with material outcomes. So when we have a look at the two oracle cards, with the material outcome that is around the Lord of Wealth, which is what this card is, it says the sigil affirmation is I am wealthy. So this is bringing whatever that means to you. Now that could be literally material. It could be making money, getting a business flourishing, those sort of things. But wealth is a broader topic as well. It can be wealthy in knowledge. It can be wealthy in heart and spirit and soul. And there is, for many of you, something here that suggests there's something very emotional and about relationship and connections that are involved in this as well. But there is something about what would make greater wealth for you in your life. It's certainly a sign of good luck. So there's a good luck energy around this, meeting the right people to learn what you need to do, being able to access and connect, particularly with the relationship energy here with the Gnostic Tarot. And then you have the Oracle card, which is the Keeper of Secrets. And the sigil affirmation is, my privacy is maintained and secure. My secrets are kept hidden. So if there is anything within this that is about your secrets to wealth and so forth, and then, like you're learning more on what you do with it, and even the relationship energy here, which is interesting, which I'll get to, then this is suggesting that you know how to keep your privacy, how to keep it secret. It also suggests that if you are inducted into some form of education, whether it be a more standard qualification or whether it's something far more esoteric like the mystery schools, that you will understand the requirement for secrecy around what you do if it's very esoteric, or that there is some importance to understanding the full amount of that to be able to use this in a qualified way. It is interesting that this card does have a little bit of a warning though. It says, if you are trying to discover hidden information, it will be difficult or else disadvantageous. You can expect locked doors, both physical and metaphorical, to remain closed at this time, likely for the best. So I feel that there's a very strong sense here that there is the right teaching, the right way to learn, the right people to learn through. And there is something potentially secret, private or specialised about what is being activated. But it's very important that you do go through the right people and the right protocols and the right networks, because otherwise you are going to be frustrated. So this is I think, why the Hierophant is so important here. There is something about your soul activation that there are almost rules around what you're going to do. And breaking them is going to actually be fruitless. So that's an interesting thing. And I think it's partly because of manifestation. There's a lot of New Age stuff, I guess, about manifestation, which I think can lead you down a rabbit warren, to be honest, because it's not complete with all the actual esoteric knowledge associated with it, all the responsibilities and the actions that you need to take in the material world. So I find it very interesting that we have such a material energy for you. So I think you're very much on point for what you're trying to do. Now, the other part of this, with the Gnostic Tarot, we have the King of Cups, which is part of Neria's journey, who is a very strong feminine energy within the Gnostic gospel. She's a very strong sense of gnosis and connection, and is sometimes, or her story would be very much that she was demonized or set apart because of the family dynamics, quite frankly, because she was born to Adam and Eve. So with the King of Cups there reversed, I feel like there's some healing operating for you around this, about when you are included and not, and when your ability, knowledge and so forth is recognised and approved of in whatever way it needs to, and when it is demonised or not recognised. So there is something here. And with Sophia's journey, with the Five of Cups, actually, no, that's actually the King of Wands, Wands reversed. So it's even more, there's an ego thing associated with it. Maria is Wands. So King of Wands reversed, there is an ego issue, potentially competition around and who is included. Then we have Sophia, which is the Cups. Sorry, I'm getting acquainted with the Gnostic Tarot and getting those confused. So, but that's interesting. Whenever that kind of thing happens, I think it's meant to happen. So I think there is a healing energy as well too. I was meant to overlay Cups on this as well. Otherwise I wouldn't have been sort of drawn in that way. But nevertheless, we also have the Five of Cups with Sophia's journey. So there is something here about a disappointment in the past about being included, learning the right things, being allowed into the secret thing, getting the qualification, making the money, whatever it might be, that you are moving past. And then we have the Lovers. There are relationship questions associated with this. So how you relate to others. And I think there's family, because as I say, with Nerea, she was a daughter of Adam and Eve, but because of all the complex things that happened with the children of Adam and Eve, she's been sort of demonized and created a bit like a sort of Lilith character. But she is very powerful within herself. So I think that there's something here for most of you about almost your kind of soul family or your actual bloodline family lineage, and whether or not in the past you were seen to be part of that or good enough within that or something like that. Or you thought you would move forward on that, but that wasn't really the path that you were meant to go on. And these things have sort of permeated a kind of relationship energy around you. And part of this is to break you out of that, to have you inducted, to find the right connection that is going to induct you into the secrets and allow you to manifest. So I think there's a direct shift, and it has to do with relationship. Now, for some of you, it will be about love. It will be about disappointments before in love that kind of made you feel you could not manifest or understand, what are the secrets of love? How do we make that happen? For others, it could be more a matter of, as I say, fitting in or being allowed into being inducted into some sort of secret or qualified knowledge in some way to get a material outcome. So let's have a look. Let's look with the Akashic Truth Oracle about what is the area of life that is most being triggered at this early stage. So this is really a stage of your understanding that there were blocks before, particularly around relationships for some reason, to you achieving, finding the right teachers, getting the right qualifications or being inducted in the right groups to achieve your material aims, whatever they are. So what area of life in particular are you first likely to feel this call to learning more and getting closer to the secret of it all? Health and wellness. Okay, so there may be something here that is saying this is a very specific pathway where the material stuff here is more around health, wellness and so forth, or it could be saying that there's something for you in the knowledge around health and wellness. It's a very big area. It could be traditional medicine through to alternative therapies, through to spiritual things like Reiki. So it could be anything. It could be relationship counselling and so forth if it's that kind of area. But there's something here about being inducted into understanding the secrets and knowledge of one or more things associated with health and wellness is your entry point to the soul activation. So this is just the entry point. There's going to be all the other steps associated with it, but there's something in that space for you. So let's get the very first initial advice for the soul activation at this point, and then we're going to use tarot to see some more around what's going on. Consider the options. You've narrowed your focus to one desired outcome and you might be missing a bigger opportunity. Open up and let the universe send you the highest possible result. Okay, so this is saying, it's like maybe because of disappointments before around the people and the connections, you've said, this is the secret knowledge I want. This is the course I want to do. This is the thing that I want to manifest. I think that the teaching here may be to open up to different modalities. If you are really, really sort of impassioned about one, but you're getting blocks in terms of relationships, or you're not being allowed in or inducted into it, there are other ways of doing it. So whatever this is, and as I say, if it's not in the health and wellness area, it may be about whatever it is that you want to manifest, and the thing that is affecting your health and wellness and belief in yourself. And with King of Wands reversed here, there is certainly a sense of potentially being down on yourself as well, or lacking the confidence that you should have. Then it may be that a teacher is going to come and show you the secrets of another way. But whatever it is, this is about working out the connection to a material outcome through knowledge. So that's the key right now. It may develop as you progress through this, but that's the key right now. So now we're going to look in a little bit more detail. So we're going to start with the energy of the Hierophant, what the Hierophant is trying to tell us. Then we're going to look at the energy here of the two oracles, and I'm going to use the Lumen Tarot for that, and then we're going to use the Children of Litha Tarot, and we're going to look at your soul's response and your material response. So we're just going to get a kind of a setting of the scene, really. This is the main thing for this particular set of readings. So firstly, what is the Hierophant? A little bit more about what the Hierophant is about. Hell, okay, all right. You're not going to hell. That's not what this is about. The Lantern reversed. The Find reversed. The Five of Coins reversed. And Strength, okay. So, firstly, just going to the traditional tarot here. The Five of Coins reversed, to me, this is pointing to the wealth issue as well too. It's saying something about knowledge, mentors, fitting in with things will either give you a sense of community rather than feeling separated out, which the Five of Coins can do. It will also, if you have a blockage financially, it's meant to help you break that blockage financially and to move whatever it is that you've been blocked with into a strength. So in a weird way, if you have been blocked around qualifications, entry into groups, professionally, whatever it might be, spiritually, the very blockage is the thing that's calling the soul activation to get the right ideas, the right information, the right mystery, and so forth. So it is actually a strength. If you had just gone straight into it, you would probably have bypassed some of the options that you could have had to really develop. Now let's just have a quick look at what Hell, the Lantern, and the Find are particularly wanting to say. Hell is here a kind of binding energy. It's not dissimilar to the Devil card in a way. When we look at this as a binding energy that has caught you, then we have the Lantern, which is a spiritual light, which is almost kind of the opposite because it's reversed. If this was upright, it would be a kind of analogy to somewhere between the Hermit and the Hierophant. And then the Find, which is finding the thing that you want and connecting with the people that you want. This is talking about what this is supposed to break you out of. And it's saying that going through this process becomes a strength in itself. Interesting, the Hell card here has Uranus as its activator, so this is meant to be a breakthrough for you. The Lantern is Neptune reversed, and the Find is Venus reversed. There is something in this that tells me that spiritual and emotional connections have not led you where you needed. They've led you into something where you're bound up in something that is not working. And you're meant to break free of those so that you find your people, which is part of what we were talking about there with community, and find the strength through this knowledge. Now, what's interesting with Hell is that its symbol is the acacia tree, and that has fiery red leaves in autumn, and it signifies the transition from ignorance to wisdom. So there is, what this is saying is that you're being activated to come out of a pathway or a group of people or a thing that you were doing where you did not know the answers, or you were not given the answers, or you were in fact deliberately misled potentially, or even unconsciously misled, to finding the true energy. So this is meant to be a breakthrough. The Hierophant here is meant to be a breakthrough for you. And that's very powerful. And when we look at the Find, even though it's reversed, its symbol is the waning crescent moon, and it's indicating a return to ourselves. So I feel like what this is saying is that the Hierophant is here because you're meant to find a guide. It could very well be a spirit guide, but it could also be some form of teacher. you're meant to find a way back to yourself. You've actually been led somewhere that wasn't right for you. So you are either you're not being allowed in or it isn't working for you. So your soul energy connecting to the Hierophant is to find the right community and recognize in the end that all of that you've gone through, it's not wasted. It was learning in and of itself so that you create even greater strength. So then if we have a look at the Oracle cards, so we're talking about wealth and we're talking about secrets. I'm just going to get 4 cards from the Lumen Tarot for anything else that tells us about this. We have the Ace of Swords reversed, the Six of Swords, the Message reversed, Time reversed. Okay, this is pretty clear. What it's saying, when you are looking at how you could manifest stuff and you could get to the secrets of manifestation, you are waiting for this activation to do it. The reality is that the time wasn't right before, the message wasn't coming through. So you are meant to do this. You are meant to find your way through with the Six of Swords. And there's a kind of strategic thing, and it is about knowledge. This is about knowledge. This group, your activation at the very least at the beginning is about gathering more knowledge. It may then turn into other things as the progress goes through. But there is like an aha moment operating for you when this triggers, where you feel, I'm not really letting the inspiration through. I'm not getting the knowledge I need. I'm feeling blocked. I'm feeling like the message is blocked, and so the Uranus energy that's around the message as well, which is very much like a mercurial sort of energy, this card, is being blocked. And time is like it's just not the right time. And when it comes through with Mercury, it will come through. It's saying a message will come through, but with time, this is saying that you have to wait for the right time, but it will come with the activation. Then it will be a lot clearer to you. Everything that's happened will be a lot clearer, but it hasn't happened yet. But this may trigger it. Like literally this whole process may trigger it, or the thinking through of the block and why the block has occurred may trigger it. So then let's just clarify with the Lumen Tarot, and we'll have a look at 3 cards for what your soul should respond to this and 3 cards for the material energy. So for your soul, Page of Pentacles reversed, the 3 of Wands, and the Emperor. That's interesting. The Emperor is one of the other pathways. It might say it's worth looking at that one as well for some of you if you feel drawn to it. Otherwise, it's just that kind of energy. And materially, how this manifests is the 7 of Wands, the 10 of Swords, and the 8 of Cups reversed. Okay, so on a soul level, this is about starting to understand the material outcome. There is something very material about this. As I say, it's like getting a qualification, building a business, manifestation, whatever it might be, better health, whatever it is. There's some energy around that you haven't fully worked out what it is you want materially. What would that wealth mean to you? It's important to think about that because that will help you find the right guide if you're needing to choose. 3 of Wands suggests that you need to have a creative outlet, and the Empress suggests that you need to lead out on something. So whatever you do, even if you have a mentor or guide, you need to have a transition point at one particular point, whether it's at the end of the whole process of this soul activation or whether it's at some other stage where you take on your own authority. You have been blocked, I think, because of a stronger energy than that which you have been dealing with. So therefore, when you find the right group to go into, you need to find your own authority and your own direction. But there's sort of like really, really working out, almost like a business case. So I say that when I see the Page of Pentacles reversed. What is it you want to materialize? This is actually the valid thing for you to be looking at in a soul level at the moment. It's not how do I ascend to the divine. It's what do I want to manifest and lead out on in the world? And how that then materializes is having the courage to move forward, moving past the obstacles of before, knowing that they are over, and exploring any emotional energies that you've found hard to let go. So on a material, and this is why it goes back to the Gnostic Tarot, where it seemed to be about people and emotions and connections. So you may very well need materially to let go of all the past stuff and all the disappointment and know that you're ready. And as I say, that in a weird way, that is part of your strength to now find the right thing to move forward with. So this is a getting of wisdom and a what is going to be your planning aspect now. So let's get a little bit more information around the material side of things, because this is the ordinary world and the call to adventure. I'm just going to get 3 cards from the Tarot of Visions, which shows very day-to-day energies that you may deal with as a result of this. This is a tarot, but I use it like an oracle because it's not really clear what the minor arcana are, and even some of the major arcana aren't so clear. So, overconfidence, okay, searching, optimism reversed. Okay. This is where you are at the moment. I think that this is saying that you went in a particular direction. You felt you either had all the answers and then you found yourself blocked in some way, or it wasn't working, or you were confident about a particular sort of course of study that wasn't taking you where you needed to be, whatever it is, or you're confident you were going to be able to materialise, but you weren't quite there yet. You're meant to get this information, to get the secret, and to understand that the blockages are going to ultimately help you do that. Therefore, you are searching. But look at how this is there's still a bit of a pull to go in the opposite direction. So I think this is really saying do not move backwards into this. You do need a teacher of some sort, whether it's a spirit guide or whether it's a literal teacher. This is not, you do need that, because whether it's because there is knowledge and secrets that you can only get with that, or whether it's the only way that you're going to be inducted into something to do with this is that you have to show that you've gone through that. If you are someone who needs to do some sort of postgraduate qualification, and you don't even necessarily agree with who's teaching you, you've got to do it anyway, because it's the keys to the kingdom. And it's important, the moment you're feeling a bit deflated, it's important to think about, if you make those decisions, you know it in a very strategic way what you're doing, you can turn around this sort of pessimism that you may be feeling at the moment. So this is very much about, okay, I'm going to do what I need to do at this point in terms of learning and connections. I'm not going to think I can do it all on my own, but I will, once I've done that, be able to get my optimism back, that then I can be my true self. That's the energy of this. So let's get you some guides around this. Now, in some of these steps, there will be more guides, but for you, it's really important because there is a kind of guide here, and this could be literally a spirit guide for you, but otherwise it's an overarching guide. So, Archangel Zadkiel, transmutation, mercy, the violet flame, very high order sort of spiritual energy coming through. I do think for many of you, this is like, joining some sort of esoteric order or something, but you don't have to. But there's certainly things here about the change energy that's necessary to move out of the old patterns and move into the new. And St. Francis, wow, now that's really interesting. Because I said you need to work out what you want to do materially. The thing about this is that with St. Francis, it's almost as though the material energy is not necessarily you're not necessarily thinking, I just want to be a millionaire or a billionaire or something like that. This is more about resources and how resources move. And it's also, I think, why there was a strong relationship energy and a bit of disappointment about the blocks. This feels to me like you are being guided towards being able to manifest well in the world and have the right qualifications or the right techniques or whatever it is. But it's partly because you will be sharing your bounty. It's also why it's so important to find the right group, because it feels like you might have actually been blocked because you're with the wrong people, the wrong group, and they may have taken advantage of that. This is more to find the right path, the right knowledge, the right patterns, and then be able to share what your bounty is in a way that actually is to the good of others and to the good of you, and is going to the appropriate people. So that's really interesting. There's a kind of a drumbeat under this for you, where I think you are going to create something that then you are generous with. So that's another part of what's being activated here. So it's got an other person centeredness to it. That's why we saw the relationship stuff as being so important. Okay, so let's also have a look at a couple of chakra cards just to see what kind of energy you either have very well balanced or need to balance at this stage when you're just sort of feeling the call to this new learning path. Learning and manifestation path, I would say. So firstly, okay, underactive, I feel a lack of passion. This is what's going on right now. This is why you almost need the new thing to learn, the new thing to be curious about, the new guide or whatever, because you're not using your creativity at the moment. That's what you would kind of expect at the moment, like in the ordinary world. The part of the itch of this, part of the wanting to do it is getting a sense of passion back. And the solar plexus, oh yeah, underactive, I do lack self-trust. Yes, something. And that's the interesting thing. This is saying there is the right guide, there is the right thing to learn. It is necessary to do that, so you're inducted into whatever you need to be inducted into to do this. But having said that, you then need to understand that then you go forward with your own thing. It's almost like you've been searching, you might be sort of someone who goes and studies everything and joins every group and does all, and you just felt blocked because you haven't found the thing that's right. This is activating to bring the right thing so that then you do start to see, this was the thing that was right for me. This is how once I've learned this, I can move forward myself. So there's a lot of self-realization that's going on with this and getting yourself on a path that can be creative and you can feel confident in. This is very, very positive. Let's get you also some stars to guide you at this stage, right at the beginning where you're just sort of getting the sense of what's coming in for you. Venus, love, beauty, sensuality, pleasure. Definitely, if any, this is about relationship energies, like manifesting better relationships, understanding how to do that. Venus is with you there, and they are meant to have a passion, and it's meant to be something beautiful in what you're doing. Also potentially divine feminine. And Andromeda, spiral path, higher light, deeper love. Yeah, there's a lot about love. There is something very much in this for this group. I think that you are going, in whatever it is, you're either going to heal a lot of relationships with your generosity, your manifestation, having sort of got the secrets of the kingdom or whatever, but otherwise I do think this has a transpersonal energy. It's loving, but it's going to have a wider reach in some way. It's like some of you may make a lot of wealth and then become philanthropic, for instance. Okay, so now we just want to have a look at some signs you may see, along with the sigil, signs you may see that this is activating. And sorry, I just knocked the camera. I don't know whether I got it back quite in the right place again, as I was just getting these cards. So I'm getting one card from each of the Lucid Dreams Terror or Nature signs, and Metro, which is the more human design signs, human condition signs. So these are meant to be just things that you may see in dreams, you may see synchronistically, you may think of. Just keep a lookout for this because it could be an indication the activation is occurring. I'm getting, for some of you, it could be really literal. There could be something like, whatever sort of symbols we have here, if we have any that would fit with this, that, you could find someone who has a T-shirt with that on when you first meet them, might be the teacher, or they wear a pin that has that kind of thing, or there's something about them that has that energy, or a place that you might meet them. That may or may not be the case for everybody. So firstly, we have green, growth, renewal, new beginnings, fertility. So health, fertility, there's something here about health, definitely. And new beginnings and all of that sort of energy. They may have green eyes. They may wear green colours, or you just may see green a lot. You could be in a very green place when you find the teacher, or when you have the aha moment about what this is. You could be in a park or something like that. So green is important in some way. You may dream about green things, which tells you that this energy is starting to ignite. Okay, and then from the more sort of human condition side of things, shadow work. Rejected or repressed aspects of self, spiritual guidance. So it may be that a lot of this is about doing some shadow work. I'm finding a teacher or somebody to do that. Or it might be while you're doing shadow work in some way. Or it may be that in the very places where you felt rejected or repressed, the teacher will come, or you will have the aha moment. You may feel, I feel like here, this person who's in light, and a lot of it isn't, it may be that you're still in a group that's the wrong thing to be in, and you're suddenly going to have the illumination of, I don't belong here, I've got to go and find the right place. So, but that may also be a mechanism, not just a sign, a mechanism to help you trigger the activation. Okay, so last but not least, because the next stages that we're going to look at include the resistance to the call and the finding of a mentor, which will be very important for you with that Hierophant card, I just want to finish on looking at a kind of ambivalent energy or a balanced energy that you'll need to consider to go into the next reading. So for you, pile 1, when you are preparing next week, if that's when you watch it, or whenever you watch it, if this has all been published and you're binge watching or whatever, the next stage, something to consider or think about or remember around a kind of ambivalence energy, which is the next stages of this activation for you, is, teaching, withheld or giving. I think that there is something here, I have to say. It's been a subtext in all of it, and so it's worth pointing it out. When we saw the overconfidence and other things like that, if you feel like I've done everything that I need to do to learn, why should I need to do this? There is still a guide, there is something more, and you're going to go a lot further and understand all of the frustrations. So if you're at a point like, I don't need to learn that, I don't want to know, this is saying you need to actually deal with that. You could be going, the last thing I want to do is go and study something else or follow somebody else or whatever it might be. So you could have some resistance in that. You could also, having got the information, you may have a little bit of a internal issue around, remember we had secret knowledge? There may well be, for some of you, aspects of this you can't share or give. And because we have St. Francis, you want to give. I think if that's the case, give of love, give of material outcomes, but you can't necessarily share it. So there's some ambivalence around that as well for you. But as I say, we'll explore that more as we go through the process. I hope that this has resonated for you. I hope you've enjoyed the reading. If so, please like and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in part 2. Welcome, part 2, to your reading. So you came to the reading with the Emperor, and the Emperor, generally speaking, is about sort of the material world, about power, about purpose, ambition, leadership, all of those things. And I definitely think this activation is about that, but it's in a very specific way. So you'll know very quickly if you feel this is right. Though if you resist it, maybe think that's even a bigger sign. This is clearly the activation of a prophet. The people who are coming to this, you are going to find the capacity for prophecy, for seeing the bigger picture, the future, whatever that might mean to you. And many in sort of high magic will say a prophet understands the past as much as the future, but there is a capacity here to go into the depths of your own knowledge and into the shadow wherever it is necessary, therefore to have the strength and the leadership to do that, to be able to access this and activate it. So this is a very interesting group. You are being activated to be the prophets of this age. Wow. Okay. So one of the reasons that I say, this is definitely about leadership. This card here is literally the prophet card. And this is why you would see, say, a raven, a psychopomp, that kind of thing. And a psychopomp is very important for this because this card is all about, in a sense, going into the underworld. It's the gates of Hades, and therefore you've got a Cerberus dog here. So there is something here. You are able to look into the darkness, into the shadow, and deal with things. And that's what a prophet needs to do, because certainly I've spoken to various people in the spiritual world who at the moment find what is going on in the world at the moment a bit too much to deal with. And personally, they just can't. They focus their spirituality on healing and supporting those that are close to them. And there is nothing wrong with that. That is a very noble and wonderful thing to do. You really don't have the choice, part 2. You have to look at the world. But part of your own strength and why this is activating in you is that you can. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to be a prophet on the world stage telling, the President of the United States what's coming and what needs to happen or something like that. Though many prophets of ages were connected to people of great power, so there could be something of that for some of you, but otherwise it's just having that future vision, particularly when everything is a bit chaotic, and being able to help people make choices. Because when I look at the Gnostic Tarot, we have 2 from Neria's journey, which is the Wands journey. We have the 10 of Wands reversed, so that is releasing people from oppression. So there's something here that you're meant to do. And we also have the 8 of Wands at a time where everything is more about inhibiting freedom. So there's something here about understanding the forces of the world at the moment to inhibit freedom. And with Simon's journey, which is Pentacles, with the 2 of Pentacles, to take away choice from people, to find a way to free people, to let them understand the consequences of actions and choices at the moment in terms of their longer term level of freedom. So there's definitely something like that going on. You are meant to be able to see what is coming and what the implications of either turning a blind eye to it or taking choices that are expedient at the moment and don't deal with the shadow energy that is around. You're here as a messenger to do that. So that is profound and really, really necessary. I want to tell you the affirmations for the sigils. So the affirmation for the Emperor sigil for you is, I protect and provide for myself and my loved ones. Now, what I think this means is that, as I say, this could be just in those closest to you. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to become a Nostradamus to a Catherine de Medici, but some of you might in some way with this, but nevertheless, you are still looking after those that you hold most dear. If it's seen that you are using power or energy or knowledge in some sort of way, it's all done to the good. You are using it to the good. Then when we have the affirmation for the prophet, I receive visions of the past, present and future. I interpret that which lies beyond the veil to the betterment of all. So again, this is about seeing the sweep of history and how it impacts whatever it is that you're trying to release that has been entrapped in some way by the energies of the current zeitgeist, I would say. And then the affirmation for the gates of Hades, all the secrets that ever were or ever will be are found in me. I descend deep within and touch the core of hidden truth. So wow, this is very, very profound. As I say, you are the prophets of this age in one form or another. And it is about creating more freedom. And that makes perfect sense to me, because if there is any threat at the moment in this world to people, it is the loss of freedoms. So you're here with that purpose. So cool. So then what we're going to look at is when this first starts. So this first stage is where you get a sense in the ordinary world that you have a calling. So it may first show up in a very prosaic area of life, or it may turn up in a very emotional one. We're just going to ask the Akashic Truth Oracle, what area are you first likely to really see the impact or the imperative of this, or start to get your visions around? Health and wellness. That's interesting. That came up for another one. So there's something about the health and wellness in a very broad level of yourself and others. I think that goes to the I care for my loved ones. I think your first point where this triggers is you're going to know, wow, there are things now that threaten those that I care about, their health, their wellness, their happiness. So let's see an initial piece of guidance from the Akashic Truth Oracle for you before we look at the tarot in more detail about how to recognize this prophetic ability coming in, or a focus for it if you already know that you're a prophet. Patience. Your desired result isn't arriving fast enough for you, and the universe is asking you not to give up just yet. Everything comes in divine time. Perhaps there is something to learn or karma to clear before it will arrive. So some of that energy with the two of the Wands cards reversed could be that you feel you first notice this around those you care about, your own well-being, where something is being blocked or slowed down because it isn't operating freely and the choice isn't coming through. But it's going to give you a bigger palette to play with. It's going to make you understand something bigger than just that. So let's have a look with the Lumen Tarot for a little bit more information. So we're going to start firstly with looking at what the Emperor is here to tell. Then we're going to have a look at what the Oracle cards are here to tell. So the Emperor as the first activation here for you. The Empress. Now, isn't that interesting? The Emperor and the Empress. For some of you, this may be about a very, very close relationship, a relationship of mutual level and mutual power. Doesn't have to be, but it could be. The Handmaid of Cups, so the Page of Cups. The Hanged Man reversed. The Nine of Swords reversed. It's interesting the way that that's portrayed in this deck. The Six of Coins. Okay. Yeah, this is about knowing where you have to be a benefactor and help others, definitely with the Six of Coins. There is a sense of I have to help others. I have to materially help others. So for all that there is a very prophetic aspect to this, and that's the main thing, it is to have a material outcome. You are meant to be a kind of benefactor to others. And I think it is in releasing them from anxieties that are almost subconscious. See how the Nine of Swords here, it's like a closed door? I feel like, as I was saying at the beginning, I feel like there's many people I know in the spiritual world who have psychic ability, all that kind of thing. There's no doubt that they do, but they aren't able to open that door and look at it. It's too anxiety provoking. So I think part of what you are meant to understand with your prophetic ability and your ability to go into the shadow is what is the materially beneficial way to help others deal with that anxiety and in fact to relieve the anxiety. It's requiring of you a different perspective from what you have at the moment, or that you shift other people's perspective with love. Like, this is not about sort of storming into, a conference room in an organisation and telling everybody that they're doomed. It's actually with love and understanding and emotional resonance, being able to bring that message so that people can be released in a way from their own anxiety and the ways that their current decisions and current perspectives may be leading them to being locked up and made anxious, as opposed to being in sort of something that has more sort of flow of resources and so forth. But there's definitely, this is a combination for you of your divine emperor and your divine empress, so your divine masculine and feminine. There's something in you being able to use both those energies. And for some, there may be a counterpart. Doesn't matter what your gender is, it's just about a counterpart who may also help with this. So for some of you, you may be the prophet and they may be the way shower, or they may be somebody, looking at how the Empress here has a chessboard. It may be, I did say for some of you, you may be advising someone very powerful, or someone who has, within whatever the circumstance is, a capacity to strategize with what you say. So I think there's definitely something like that for you. But this is about going where others can't go, seeing what others can't see, and coming up with a material solution that people can accept, that won't make them even more frightened, because you're looking at some pretty dark stuff, I have to say. So that is something to be aware of. So let's ask about what else we have. 4 cards to talk about that capacity to be the prophet and that capacity to literally go down into the underworld, or whatever you want to call it. See the shadow energy. Look at it for what it is. The Sun reverse. That's interesting, going into the underworld. The Hermit. There's the spiritual leader and so forth. The Lovers. There's maybe for some of you there's a very significant relationship, or it's about how you can connect with relationship. And Science reversed. Yeah, it's the numinous, it's the prophet. So it may be saying that one of the things that you have to deal with, in fact, is you are not doing what would be seen as science. You're doing like something that is more alchemical or something along those lines. So that's worth knowing, that there may be a pushback from some on that, depending upon whatever your message is. But not to doubt yourself. That's not to doubt yourself. It's to just know that you're in the realm of the numinous, the realm of the prophet, not the realm of the scientist who replicates and replicates and replicates and tries to disprove something. You're trying to sort of see the sweep of history and the future and the patterns. It's definitely got connections with others. Choices about relationships, choices about connections. Part of the shadow might be that. There may be, for some of you, some issue that you have to work out about the distribution of power within a relationship that's key to bringing this message about. So there's something about being able to go into the shadow and see that. You are not meant to be seen necessarily in the world. It's more behind the scenes. It's more a spiritual advisor. As I say, it's very Nostradamus with Catherine de Medici, or John Dee with Elizabeth I. It's very much that kind of energy. So this is not meant to be that you're necessarily going to be a social influencer and do it on YouTube, for instance. I mean, like, I guess you could, but there would be an issue then about what could happen, I think, in terms of pushback. This is more to be dealing with the people who are able to hear it and the people who are able to influence stuff. So that's something to think about. So let's have a look with the Children of Litha Tarot, a little bit more about what your soul is meant to get from this and what's materially meant to happen. So your soul... We have the 6 of Swords reversed. We have the 8 of Pentacles and the Hierophant. Okay. And then in terms of the materialization of this activation, we have the Seven of Pentacles reversed. We have the Three of Wands reversed. And we have the Queen of Wands. There's definitely, Empress, Queen of Wands, there's definitely someone else associated with this in some way who I feel is part of how the message comes across. And they're a powerful person too. They're a power in their own right. But it just depends like what level of life we're talking about. But there's definitely someone else. Or it's the Emperor side of you is the one that goes down within the depths and sees what there is and then takes it out into the world. Or alternatively, it may be almost a Persephone thing and it's the feminine side of you that does it. So you'll know, but I think for most of you, there's someone else involved in this who is very sure of themselves, so able to hear what you're saying when we're looking at how it's going to be materialized. This is interesting. Your soul knows and can pick up the agitation of the energy, almost electric. We are where people are agitated, where people are not feeling peace, where peace is not occurring in the world. And you're able to look at the learning and the structure and the history and the traditions and all of those things to find the way to switch that around. So as I say, they do say that prophets understand history as much as they can project into the future. This is understanding the world that you're in, the belief structures you're in, the learnings, how education is affecting what people can see, propaganda, all of that sort of stuff. There's some sort of energy around all of that. And then in the way that it's materializing in the world, it's pointing out where something is not growing, has actually started to kind of almost go into entropy. And where people are going in lots of different directions. It's to find a kind of leadership energy. As I say, it could be through someone else or you or some combination. It could be a connection that you have that brings this forward. But I feel like for many of you, you are the prophet, but you say it to someone who is then the person who either makes the moves on the chessboard or who is the communicator and comes out and says it. But either way, there's a sort of your soul understands from I would say lifetimes of doing this sort of thing. What is actually going on here and what are the patterns we're seeing and where have we gone off course? And then in the material world, you can show what the consequences are and how to course correct. So that's very interesting. So because this is the ordinary world and the call to adventure, I wanted to use the Tarot of Visions, which is a tarot that is really kind of more like an oracle because it's a little bit hard to know what the major and minor arcana cards are, but it's very much in the material world. So I just wanted to see 3 cards from that for how this is playing out right now at this stage of the activation for you. So searching, that's interesting. That came up for one of the others. Some of you, because of another card in there, I did say you might have a connection to this one. So some of you might have come to both. If so, choose which you think is the right one to be your follow through in the others. Nostalgia reversed. Okay, there's a little bit of a hint here for you actually. Enlightenment reversed. Okay, what this is saying is that you are essentially someone who's searching. That's a kind of a hermit energy. That's an energy of the spiritual, the prophet, all of that kind of thing. But if you look at how it's portrayed, his feet are going that direction. They're trying to go in that direction. There is something here about you understand the past, the present, and the future. You've got to ultimately move towards the future. It's not, you don't go back with nostalgia and just sit in the past and go, I just want the past. There's something about this situation that has to go through change, has to create almost the prison that it's showing so that the release can happen. So there's no good just thinking, it was all good, back in the earlier 2000s or whatever. That will not help you. You need to really use your prophetic ability. Because if you don't, you're not bringing the enlightenment that's necessary. And for some of you with this, you may feel everybody is stuck in some nostalgic view, thinking that we're in a world that no longer exists. So that may be something you need to be aware of. And it may be even your frustration with that. Like, can't other people see this? Can't they see that we're walking into a trap? Then you can actually take them beyond that, which is important. So let's get you a couple of angels or other sort of energies to support you and guide you. That will become particularly important. We'll look in more detail about that in later stages of the journey where guidance is particularly important. But for now, Archangel Raziel. Okay, yeah, that's you. That's right up in Hokmah. That's the mysteries. This is around secrets, protected knowledge. You are getting downloads, this is important. And Raziel, because it's connected to Hokmah, it's a little bit dispassionate. You do actually have to be a little bit dispassionate. This is maybe what I'm feeling here, that you are the dispassionate prophet. There is someone else who needs to take the message forward. It's like Hokmah needs Binah, and Hokmah is like the sense of the emperor, right? So that's what we've got here. And that Binah is like the Queen of Wands, is like the Empress. So there is something here about understanding that for you. But it's definitely coming from a very high order, as well as, you can go down into the underworld. And Baba Yaga, which kind of is a bit like the underworld. The wise and wild woman again, male and female, duality, the witch. So there's something witchy about you and something kind of high magic about you, which creates the prophet, and you're able to sort of go to both, and you're getting that support. So I think that's important. Let's see what chakra energy is either active, underactive, or overactive in you at the moment, at this point of the activation. Solar plexus. Okay, overactive. I do have to be right. Okay, this is part of this issue. Now, one of the things I must say is if you do have prophetic ability and you can see what's coming, sometimes it's very, very frustrating that other people can't see it. Or that, as they say, they shut down and go, it's all too difficult to talk about. I don't want to know, because you can feel like, well, that's how we're going to end up in it. If enough people do that, we just, frog in slowly boiling water kind of situation. So you do have to be aware that you'll feel frustrated. But I think this is where it's sort of like there's someone else, or, a group or something, or some other way creatively. It could be saying, if it's not a person, it could be that you get the message, but you do it creatively. A lot of the great prophets of our time, thinking about like George Orwell and people like that, did it creatively. And that was a very, very powerful message. So that's something to think about. Rather than just going, I'm just going to tell people and they just have to take it. It's how do you actually get this message across? And we also have the heart chakra. Balanced, I love and forgive. So regardless of all of it, even if you do get frustrated, ultimately one of the reasons that you're a very good channel for this is at the end you do care about others more than you're frustrated with them. And it comes from a place of love. So that's very, very good. And a place of generosity. Six of Pentacles is also about generosity. So it comes from that for you. Okay, so let's also get some stars to guide you as well. Full moon, fertility, gratitude, abundance, divine feminine. Yeah, there's definitely something about the divine feminine. He's saying at the very least you have to be balanced within, and this connects to the heart thing, not just Hokmah going, I'm right, whether you like it or not. Facts don't care about your feelings, that kind of stuff that you hear sometimes. So there is a kind of a balance of that for you. And then we also have Uranus, revolution, rebellion, eccentricity, progress. Yeah, you've got a breakthrough energy. Like you're coming with a message and you are breaking through and you're liberating. Uranus does do that. It liberates. There's something here about the liberation for you. So that's really, really important as well. There's these things are kind of energies around. What we also want to do is see some symbols or signs that could tell you that you are activating. So I'm going to take one card from the Lucid Dream Terror deck, which is I'm going to do now, which is sort of something in nature. So what I'm thinking of here is these may be things you see, dream of, think about. They're just meant to be triggers, symbols, or whatever. That could come up in meditations, as I say, dreams. You could come up in the real world. Just pay attention for them and pay attention to what you're thinking about at the time, because they're triggers. They're part of the activation. So firstly, wow, black. Feminine energy again. Okay, this very much, it may be for some of you that there is a very strong feminine energy around you that helps connect to your emperor energy. It doesn't matter what gender you are or the gender of the person, but feminine energy is very, very powerful here. Women, the what women talk about, what that kind of energy, all the things about fertility and all of that kind of thing. So there's something there. Mystery, intuition, magic, hearing about magic, thinking about magic, the sigil magic operating within this deck, for instance, all of those things. This could be saying for most of you, this is happening right now. For you, this group is happening right now as a result of that. But it just depends. It'll depend upon who's coming to the reading. You may see people wearing a lot of black. You might see black humor in something, the sort of darker sort of humor that can happen. You may dream in black and white. any of those sort of things. Could be something from the natural world or the liminal space world that is talking to you. And then from the kind of more human condition end of the spectrum of signs and synchronicities, whole, dark, feminine again. Wow, there's definitely something about all of this. I think it is saying the Emperor side of you, if this is not a person, I think for some of you there will be a person who will be a colleague or a collaborator in all of this, or somebody that you're helping who has power. But if that's not the case, if this is internal, it's your feminine that goes into the underworld, it's your masculine that goes into the celestial realms, and you cover both. So this is very much the signs coming up. The first signs are really more about the trip to the underworld. And that makes sense, actually, that if you're looking at this, you've got to understand the problem first. So you've got to go to the shadow, because you're really about liberating the shadow. So dark feminine, feeling trapped, death, subconscious, any of those sort of things, dreams about being in those sort of places, feeling anywhere where you're feeling claustrophobic or trapped, anything like that. Even like something as what seems as trivial as walking past a pothole in the street. Just pay attention to those things. They're meant to wake you up to what you're thinking about at the time and how that connects to the activation, or to tell you the activation is occurring. Okay, so the last card we're going to have in this particular reading is actually to lead into next week's reading, or whenever you happen to be watching the next one, if you're not watching these as they're published. And that is a card to look at a kind of duality energy that could be a resistance, because in the next one we'll be looking at the resistance that you'll have to this and the finding of the mentor. So at this point, having started to be awakened, the activation starting, you will be in a bit of an ambivalent feeling about it to some degree. So I just want to see what that energy is for you as a kind of a precursor to the next reading. Uncertainty, doubtful and confident. Okay, that makes sense. You're going to go from feeling very confident of your messages and what you're doing through to being doubtful about, is this true? Am I just imagining it? Am I truly a prophet? Because the thing about prophecy, until you've actually done it for a while, is you don't know. You don't know. You understand again that you're a prophet in a sense through history by over a period of time dreaming about things that came true, thinking that something was going to come true, and then it does come true, particularly where others tell you no, or it doesn't look like it's right. All of those things will tell you. So I think for many of you, if you don't already know the inner prophet, then part of your journey will be to realize that you're that by finding you're right more often than you're wrong, but you are going to have to deal with the doubt and uncertainty as well. So I hope that this resonates for you. It's a very profound group. I hope it resonates for you. I hope it was helpful. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in part 2. Welcome, pile 3, to your reading. So you came to the reading with the Chariot. And the Chariot, of course, we traditionally think of as moving forward, taking action, progressing what you do, often balancing opposing forces and feeling able to balance those, confident in doing it. But it is a sense of momentum, destiny, all of those sort of things. So there's certainly something here about moving forward. Finally, I think being able to move forward, feeling confident, everything is control, you're able to move forward with something. And that's kind of supported also by the oracle cards that you have. Because one of them, this one over here, is the energetic flyer. So again, the sense of moving forward, flying. You know, you've got a unicorn here. This is almost like Pegasus or something, that kind of energy. And then the other oracle card is the Master of Rebirth. So this seems to be after a kind of a karmic aha moment, a rebirthing of yourself, a moving forward. So I think that for many of you, this activation is that you've either reached the end of one cycle of growth and development and spiritual learning, and you're taking those skills and that ability and that balance forward into something new, and you're really excited about it. And this sort of shows with this as well. But I also think there's a kind of almost, it literally is like a rebirth, a shot of adrenaline, like really moving forward with something and with greater confidence than possibly before. When we look at the Gnostic Tarot, we have Sophia's journey. So this is Cups, the Six of Cups reversed. So there is certainly moving away from nostalgia. There's definitely, when you put these two together, you know, with the sort of rebirth and then that, you definitely have a sense that we're talking about not going into the past. This is definitely moving into the future. So, you know, if you are leaving a relationship and you're looking for something new, if you're leaving a workplace, if you're leaving a spiritual thing to follow a new approach, there's definitely a sense of the past is done. You've got what you needed from it. You've shed the skin, so to speak. Then I'll get to this in a minute, but I'll jump over here. This is Noria's journey, so that's wands, and this is the defender or the knight. So this is moving forward. For some of you, in a very literal way, you may move home, or you may move a workplace or something like that. There's definitely, again, this forward momentum and moving a lot faster, really confidently. Now, there's always a little bit of a warning with the Knight of Wands not to go too fast, but I think there's a sense of like letting go of the past, but keeping the wisdom from it there. And then we have the Wheel of Fortune reversed. Now, I always say that I feel that it doesn't really matter whether the Wheel of Fortune is upright or reversed. It's just where we're at in the cycle. I think that there has been in the past some reversal of fortune or something, or where the timing stopped you, where you weren't able to do anything. You're ready to click past that. But there's something about understanding the balance of opposites, because the Chariot is about that. The Chariot is sort of like head and heart, different sort of opposites are being balanced. And the Gnostic character that's being portrayed for the Wheel of Fortune is called Basilides. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. He was actually a Gnostic teacher. The really interesting thing about him is he did connect a lot of his teachings to karma, so to the sort of the past and what that creates in the future. But he also is credited as being the one who brought the concept of a particular entity called Abraxas into the teachings of Gnosticism. And Abraxas is like a God above God concept. It's a concept of the duality of good and evil, all the dualities actually. It's a sort of almost a neutral point which balances all that out. So I think there's something here, whether it's a spiritual path where you're balancing kind of shadow and light, whether it's an emotional situation between head and heart, whether it's a career situation between spiritual path and material path. The timing hasn't been quite right to do this, but you're starting to get the sense that now this activation is going to go, now you do this, now you do it, now you're ready, now you understand both sides well enough to do it. So in whatever way it's going, that's occurring. I want to just read you the affirmations for each of the sigils. So for the Chariot, we have, I am victorious and successful in all things and in all ways. To me, that talks in the Kabbalah of Nasach, which is the Sephiroth of success and of moving forward. So I think there is a sense of victory operating with this. This activation is meant to take you forward and in a victorious and balanced way. The affirmation for the Master of Rebirth, so this sort of karmic shedding of the skin type of energy, is I release the past and embrace the future. So again, that's this part of it. It's letting go of something in the past. And then the affirmation for the energetic flyer is I have an abundance of energy, stamina, and focus. This is like the Knight of Wands. There is something in this that you're activating where there's a lot of action, a lot of movement, a lot of creativity, a lot of passion, whatever it might be, and you're ready. You've kind of like got rid of the past that was weighing you down or making you wonder. The timing is about to click in, and this activation will probably effectively turn the wheel around, and then you will move forward. So there's definitely progress, victory, passion, creativity, but also balancing opposites associated with this. So let's see what area of life it first clicks into. So this is using the Akashic Truth Oracle. It may not stay in this area of life all the way through, but we'll just see what we're looking at. Right at the moment where there's the call to adventure, the ordinary world is starting to seem not enough and the call to adventure is coming. Career and business. Okay, for most of you, you're first going to see this around your vocation, your career, your creative career, whatever it might be. So what is the advice? Oh, excuse me for that. See some of my chaotic working desk because that's interesting. Like if you think about the Chariot as an energy, you think about you're kind of trying to kind of keep everything on an even keel, and then I knock the camera. There could be sort of a message there about this is one of the things to be aware of, that maybe keeping things on an even keel, and the perspective being important because you just suddenly saw, as I say, all the kind of different things that I have on my desk. So, okay, let's have a look at the advice around life, area, career, and business. Gratitude. There's always something to be grateful for, even the darkest of situations. Now is the time to recognize what is going well in your life and what you are thankful for. I think this is what will allow you to release past frustrations and know that even those gave you the wherewithal to now understand how to balance things moving forward. I think it's also suggesting that when the release energy that's here with the chariot, with the energetic flight, all of that kind of thing occurs, that is something to be grateful for. You're moving into a new phase, and a phase of victory, as I said. So let's get a little bit more information about it, and let's use the Lumen Tarot. So we're going to ask a little bit more about the chariot energy, then we're going to ask about the oracle energy. So a little bit more about what the chariot is here to say to you at this point of activation. Time reversed. Yeah, it wasn't the right time before. Time has been an issue around this. The rose, it's about love and spiritual growth. The rose is about that. The rose is an incredibly alchemical energy. You know, you have the red rose, which is the kind of embodiment of it. And then you have the white rose, which is the spiritual energy that absorbs the red rose. And then we have the gold rose, which is the kind of mystery. So there's something here about the timing to move this into the spiritual realm, to open up the spiritual activation. And it has been blocked before, but it's going to come through. Then we get Six of Coins. This has something to do with material things. It makes sense that it's coming up in career. You know, this gives you a chance to be either have a benefactor or to be a benefactor to others. We have the Ace of Swords reversed with a new idea that this needs to activate. And the Five of Coins reversed, that brings in better material outcomes for you and for others and finds your people. So there's something here where the past has blocked some of your material outcomes, where you could be generous, where you could find your people, where you could build money. But this activation comes with a kind of really incredible new idea. And it's saying it hasn't happened yet. It's saying that the activation will bring it in. So I think you'll know the activation's occurring when you have the inspiration. And when you know it is truly something new, it is not of the past. That doesn't mean in career or business that you couldn't be carrying, you know, your skills that you have from the past, but it's something new in the way of doing it, a new job, a new idea, a new project, a new inspiration. This has to do with spiritual energies and the love that you hold for others. This is why the generous impulse is associated. But yeah, time has not worked for you before. Time has almost swallowed up what you've been trying to do before, because this card talks about kind of almost the Chronos energy or the Saturnian energy of eating up the children of our creativity. But with it reversed, this is meant to release now. And your inspiration with Mercury there, once that occurs, is going to be very profound. It's Mercury in Scorpio, so it goes very deep and very psychologically resonant, which again fits with being able to deal with the kind of dualistic energies around it. The rose is also talking about a breakthrough with it being governed by Uranus. So there is definitely an aha moment, an inspiration or something that is going to revive your passion and your interest. So then when we're looking at getting rid of the past and moving forward with enthusiasm, what do we get around that for you with this activation? The Moon reversed. Hope reversed. Okay. Ten of Wands. The High Priestess reversed. There's something very pragmatic about this. So, you know, this is a spiritual activation, but there's something very, very pragmatic about it. And I say that because the High Priestess reversed to me both tells me that there's something, at least initially, about this spiritual activation that feels more scientific than magical. Having said that, it is bringing something up to the surface. And with the Ten of Wands, it's understanding and bringing to the surface where there are things that were weighing down and stopping the movement, bringing that to the surface and clearing it out and understanding. So it's sort of like the Ten of Wands here is like sloughing off the energy and the burdens that were holding back, so that what needs to come to the surface comes to the surface. But with the Moon reverse as well too, I sort of feel like there's definitely secrets that are coming to the surface, if that makes sense for you, you know, information coming to the surface, inspiration, but it's also, it feels like, and I think it's why it's in the career or business area to start with, it feels like it's got a mystical, spiritual activation, soul activation side to it, but there's a lot in the material world. And it's partly because whatever situation this is in that you're going to start to move forward and be victorious with, it lost some of the spiritual belief and vision. So it's almost like, even if this is meant to sort of activate something that eventually creatively you actually bring spiritual energy into a situation that's not spiritual, and it could very well be. To start with, this is not an environment necessarily where if you said, I just had a spiritual inspiration, people would listen. But if you said, I have a creative inspiration, or I see a way to make things more efficient, or I see a way to move forward and be victorious in some sort of competition, people will listen to that. They want to know the secrets of that. Very interesting with the Hope card here, because the way that is portrayed is meant to look a little bit like Joan of Arc. So with it reversed, I feel like, again, I think there's a side of you that is probably has visions. Like I think that you are visionary, maybe a bit prophetic. One of the other readings in this was very prophetic. You might have felt drawn to it as well. So there's definitely that side of you, but it's almost as though you're aware of that, but you've also learned from the past that's not the way to bring this information out. It's much more practical, much more pragmatic. So you don't sort of talk in terms of the vision or even in terms of finding hope. You talk in the terms of results, and that's what kind of moves this forward. So let's use the Children of Litha Tarot, and let's look at what this means, these stages mean around your soul with 3 cards, and then materially, just to get a little bit more information. So around your soul, Queen of Swords, the Wheel of Fortune reversed again. Yeah, there's definitely something about timing and misfortune that you want to turn around. And the Chariot. Wow. Wow. This is powerful. This is a powerful activation, but it's very sort of scientific, strategic, rather than, even if it has a very strong spiritual thing, it's very strategic and very much about how it's communicated. And then how that materializes. The Magician, the 4 of Cups reversed, and the 5 of Swords. Okay. You're meant to take people away from something that hasn't worked towards something that will work. And it's your communication skills and your strategy that does, as I say, it's sort of like, it's probably incredibly visionary. It's probably very much, this is soul activation. Your soul is getting downloads. Your soul is getting the inspiration, but it's like how you package it. So here it's like, understanding the sort of, these are both cards to me that are very much about communication. The Queen of Swords connects to Gemini, which is one of the main communication signs. We've got the Magician, which is also about Mercury, communication. There's a lot here about speed through communication, dynamism and victory through communication, taking flight through communication. There's something quite quick about this, having been held sort of to slow down. I actually think this group will move very fast through their activation by and large, whether it's very much through the 6 weeks if it triggers now, or whether it's that you're even ahead of the 6 weeks and you kind of like go back and kind of watch it and inculcate that over time. This is a very quick process once it starts going, because it's been blocked for too long, and you know that. So it's meant to move forward. So your soul really knows, your spirit really knows, but you communicate for people how to break through emotional blocks and how to walk away from things that aren't working. It's a pragmatic way that you're doing. You are getting to their hearts and minds, and you are giving them a sense that they can leave battles that are not helpful in some way, and this is very material, but it does have a very strong spiritual underpinning. I just don't think that's the way that most of you, at least initially, will portray this. And it might be only at this point. It might be the beginning of this journey is to get people on board, and you have to do it in a very material way, because we're talking about the ordinary world and the call to adventure. It may be as it develops that it becomes more mystical, but at this point you're getting downloads, there's no doubt about that, but you're presenting them in the material world. Okay, so let's have a look a little bit more of the energy around the material world with the Tarot of Visions that you're going to encounter at this sort of stage of the activation. Waiting reversed. You're impatient. Yeah, and you would be too. Disharmony reversed. Estrangement reversed. Okay. So you will be impatient. You want to move forward. There's no doubt about that. But you are going to have to kind of think about how you liberate that and how you get people on board, because otherwise it could be disharmony and you could estrange people. So it's sort of like, if you work this bit out, how to show this in a way that brings people on board and takes away the disharmony and takes away the sense of separation. I think for many of you, you're in workplaces or something like that where there's a lot of, office politics or dissension, or, like deliberate sort of division. If you worked some of you could work in media, and there's a huge amount of that, depending upon which sort of media company you work for. There's sort of like what side you're supposed to be on politically, all that kind of thing. So there's something here about moving forward and breaking through that, but needing to be aware of the timing and that you're probably quicker and faster than others. So you need to kind of moderate that so that you don't lose people before you even start. You don't want to get tongue-tied. You can help people not be tongue-tied with the way that you present this. Let's get you some spiritual guidance. Even though, as I say, you're going to be largely doing this in a material level, at least to start with. St. Francis, that's interesting. That came up for some of the others. There is a generous energy to this. This is about moving forward with victory, because ultimately what you want to do is you want to get, you want to help those that need help, those that are in need, and so forth. There's also with St. Francis a very strong animal energy, like he was very good at animal communication. So some of you may find that, looking at like the unicorn energy, a very unique way that you connect with animal spirit guides. So pay attention to that. And Archangel Jeremiah, reflections, dreams, visions. See, you are a visionary, that's what I'm saying. But it's sort of like, it's how you can kindly share those, I think, in a way that people can see. And reflections is interesting. You might be able to get people to reflect on things. And that may be the way to communicate with people. Okay, so how are you going to feel chakra-wise? Let's look at what's sort of in balance or not in balance at this stage of the journey for you. Firstly, I have solar plexus. Okay, this is underactive. I do lack self-trust. So something in the past has blocked you and you felt blocked, but know that you're going to be victorious. And know that even if you would love to be able to say, this is sort of a divine, energy that I've heard from the Archangel Jeremiah and St. Francis, and you can't say that. It's trust the visions that you have. They're on point. They're going in the direction. You know what direction to go in. And then solar plexus, balance. I do have healthy self-esteem. So you overall, you have the self-esteem that's necessary. Just something more recently has made you think, do I read the situation correctly? Am I able to apply this? So this is going, remember your self-esteem. Go into that. Everything that you've learned contributes to why you're going to be victorious. We have healthy self-esteem not by having everything work out for us, but by having things not work out and learning from them. So I think that's the thing. Don't go into lack of self-trust. Go into all that you've learned so that you're ready to drive the chariot. You're ready to do that. Okay, so let's get you some stars to guide you as well, pile 3. Gemini, again, like there's a Gemini. It's about communication, versatility, self-expression, curiosity. Your communications skills are going to be very, very key to this. And Taurus, masterful or material world, stability and luxury. Yeah, this is about creating the good life for you and for others. And it's very material. There's a very material thing. Communicating on a very material level is what's going to be important as this soul activation commences. And I say it might be all the way through, or it might be that it's just really important at the moment to get the momentum and to not be blocked before you even start. Okay, so let's have a look at some signs that can help you. So I'm going to use the Lucid Dreams decks. Firstly, the Lucid Dreams Tarot deck, which shows signs that are from the natural world. So what I'm doing with these 2 decks, I'm also going to do Metro with the human condition side of things, is I'm asking for signs for you that the activation has triggered and that you're sort of on your path. So these could be things that turn up in dreams. You could see them synchronistically in the world. You could turn up in meditations. Just pay attention to what's going on when you sort of have this sort of energy or see this sort of energy. So firstly, from the natural world. Lion, wow. Yeah, there's something about animal spirit guides with you. So we've got sort of like the unicorn energy. We've got birds, any kind of winged creatures. We've also got lion, noble, sovereign, power, strength, courage. It could be just saying when you feel that, when you feel the strength of a lion, when you feel ready to go forward, then you know you're ready to drive the chariot forward. Or you could sort of see, you could turn on YouTube and see, like a thumbnail with a lion in it. You could see somebody wearing jewelry that has a lion associated with it. You could be connected with someone who's Leo and that triggers it. So just look for where the information could be coming from. And then in the more sort of human condition, human creation side of things, back, okay. Unseen subconscious burden, responsibility. Okay, so one of these things this could show is that when you feel blocked, you might get things like backache. If you're feeling blocked financially, I think that usually hits your lower back. If you're feeling that you can't trust, I think it's more sort of in the upper back and around the neck. So there could be signs there. So if your back feels very strong and you feel ready, that could be a sign, yeah, I'm ready to go. I could literally get on a chariot and feel physically comfortable to do it. I think it's also if you feel that others have your back, if they say they have your back, that could be a sign. If you see sort of like photos with people, to the back, walking away or something like that, it could be about walking away from the past and moving into the future. So any of those sort of things. But certainly it's also saying a lot of these signs will come up in dreams, subconscious, and so forth. When you feel a responsibility around what your strength is, that could also be a sign that this is activated. Okay, so the last thing I want to do in this particular stage of it is that next week's video, if you're watching this when they are filmed and published, is going to be about the next two stages, which are where you resist the call and where you find the mentor or the teacher. So I think that resistance energy is interesting. Having sort of like been woken up, activated, we move into the resistance energy. So I wanted to get a card that kind of has a dual way of the energies of things. And it's particularly important for you because a lot of what you're doing is balancing duality, So what energy is going to be key, and it's something just to remember when you go into the next video, presuming that you do decide to see the full series. What is the energy you need to be aware of? Communication. It's all about communication, stifled and communicative. Like it's all about when can you speak, who can you speak, and how do you speak. I do think for some of you, you're going to want to talk about this spiritually, but you maybe won't be able to in the environment because it's very material. It may be that later stages of this you can talk more spiritually. It might be that you have to prove it almost materially before you can talk that way. But there's definitely something about the environment you're in where who can speak and how they can speak and all that kind of thing is a bit of an issue and could cause some resistance in you and feeling you can move forward. So just remember that when you look at the next video, presuming you do watch the second one in these series. So I hope that registered for you. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in part 2.